My name is Isabella Moore. I am 29 years old tonight, and this story begins not with romance, but with the quiet ache of suspicion. My fifth wedding anniversary should be a celebration of love, of years shared and promises renewed. Yet every candle at this table flickers like a warning, every smile feels rehearsed, every word tastes of something I cannot name. Let me introduce the people who shaped this story. My husband Ethan is 33, handsome and charismatic, the kind of man who makes waiters hurry and strangers turn their heads. My best friend Chloe is 28, radiant and full of laughter, the girl who grew up beside me, who knew my secrets, who carried my heartbreaks as if they were her own. My mother-in-law Helen is 60, elegant, refined, a woman who could pass judgment with the flick of her eyes alone. She wears pearls like armor and speaks with grace dipped in poison. Then there is Mark, Chloe's older brother, 31, steady and observant, a man who rarely speaks but notices everything. My coworker Olivia is 27, clever and perceptive, a woman with ambition burning in her eyes. Finally, there is David Carter, 35, a lawyer with sharp eyes and a calm demeanor. He does not belong to my story yet, not on this night, but his role is waiting. And me, Isabella, 29, dressed in silk and hope, celebrating 5 years of marriage with the man I once believed was my forever, seated across from the friend I trusted more than family, and surrounded by the delicate glow of candles that will soon illuminate Betrayal. The restaurant sparkles with chandeliers, violins hum in the background, champagne glitters in tall glasses. Ethan tells a story about our honeymoon, his voice smooth, his smile perfect, and everyone laughs at the right moments. Chloe leans against the table, her laughter ringing too bright, her eyes flickering toward me before darting away. Helen lifts her glass delicately, her gaze sharp enough to slice, measuring me as she always has. Mark remains quiet, watching with an expression I cannot yet understand. I smile, I nod, I play my part in this perfect picture of happiness. Then it happens. A small glow, a phone screen lighting up on the linen tablecloth beside Ethan's plate. The name flashing across the screen is Chloe, my best friend. My heart stutters as I read the words that follow. Don't react. She suspects. Keep her distracted. The air leaves my lungs, the room tilts, yet no one notices. Ethan slides his hand over the phone, smooth as ever, his smile never faltering as he continues his story. Chloe sips her wine, her eyes catching mine for a heartbeat too long, and then she laughs as if nothing has happened. Helen comments on the wine, Mark clears his throat, and the world continues spinning while mine begins to break. I do not speak. I do not confront. Instead, I force myself to eat, to smile, to laugh, to survive the rest of the evening without crumbling in front of them. But inside me, something shifts. Inside me, something sharp begins to grow. Now let me step away from the table for a moment and speak directly to you, the ones watching from the shadows of my story. You are sitting here with me, invisible but present, witnessing the cracks that others refuse to see. You feel the weight of the words I just read, the sting of betrayal from the two people I trusted most. If you want to follow me deeper into the storm, if you want to see how love unravels and how betrayal turns into fire, then stay close. Join our circle, because what comes next will not be gentle. And so the first night ends with photographs, laughter, and a cake decorated with sugar roses. But I know, as I blow out the candles, that I am not making a wish. I am making a vow. The night after our anniversary dinner, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, listening to Ethan's steady breathing beside me, my body still and my mind screaming. The words on his phone played in loops inside my head, each repetition slicing deeper. Don't react, she suspects. Keep her distracted. They were not words meant for me to see. They were not words of friendship or loyalty. They were instructions, my best friend telling my husband how to fool me. And he obeyed. I did not close my eyes once, not even when the sky began to lighten and the curtains glowed with the pale gray of dawn. Instead, I remembered everything I had ignored. There were the late nights when Ethan claimed business dinners kept him away, his shirt smelling faintly of a perfume that was not mine. There were the weekends Chloe canceled plans with me, her excuses flimsy, her voice too cheerful. There were the times I caught them glancing at each other too long, laughing too hard, whispering when they thought I was not looking. I had brushed it away because love is blind, but trust is deaf. Trust does not hear the warnings until the silence is unbearable. Days passed, but I could not let it go. I began to search quietly, carefully, the way someone tests the floorboards in a house before stepping. One afternoon when Ethan showered, I slipped his phone into my hands. He was clever, but not clever enough. He had erased threads, deleted call logs, but he had not thought of the cloud that saved everything. I scrolled through messages hidden behind passwords I cracked with patience, and there it was, Chloe's name over and over, conversations that began innocently months ago and had since turned into something else entirely. Words meant only for lovers. Plans made in the shadows. And worse, conversations about me. The way I never suspected, the way I trusted too much, the way I would be the last to know. The proof burned my hands. I placed the phone back before he returned, my face calm, my voice steady, though inside I was unraveling thread by thread. That night he kissed me goodnight, his lips warm, his words empty, and I lay there wondering how long I had been living in a play where everyone else knew the ending except me. I began to collect evidence. Bank statements hidden in drawers, receipts from restaurants he never took me to, hotel bookings under names that were not his, but paid with his card. Chloe's favorite perfume charged on his account, Chloe's favorite wine delivered to our home when I was away. Each paper, each photo, each message became a piece of a puzzle that painted betrayal in colors too vivid to ignore. And then the shock that nearly broke me. Ethan had not only betrayed me with Chloe, he had also been moving money from our joint account, draining my savings, planning something bigger than just lies. He was preparing to leave me with nothing. My husband and my best friend were not only stealing my trust, they were stealing my future. I confided in Olivia, my coworker, because she had always sensed Ethan's flaws even when I defended him. She listened in silence as I laid out the evidence, her eyes sharp and unflinching. "You don't need anger yet," she told me. "You need strategy." She helped me organize everything, storing copies, documenting dates. She reminded me that patience is not weakness, patience is power. And in her words I began to feel less like a victim and more like a storm gathering its strength. One evening I visited Chloe's house under the pretense of returning a book. She smiled, hugged me, offered me tea. Her living room smelled of candles and lies. As she poured the tea, I noticed Ethan's tie draped over the arm of her chair, as though forgotten in haste. She saw me glance, her smile faltered, and then she covered it with another laugh, another excuse, another performance. I sipped the tea and said nothing, but in that silence, I think she finally realized I was not blind anymore. The days grew heavy with secrets. Ethan continued his charade, bringing me flowers, planning dinners, touching me with hands that had touched her. Chloe kept calling, pretending everything was the same, her laughter now sounding like knives. Helen, my mother-in-law, continued her cutting remarks, telling me I should focus more on children than on career, never knowing that her perfect son was destroying the home she so adored. And Mark, Chloe's brother, began to look at me differently longer, searching looks, as if he knew what his sister was doing and pitted me for carrying it alone. I kept everything inside, locking it behind my calm smile, waiting for the right moment to let it out. Because revenge, I realized, is not born in fire. Revenge is born in silence. Revenge is patient. Revenge is a blade sharpened slowly, carefully, until the one who holds it can strike without trembling. Now let me step away from my story for a moment and speak directly to you, the ones watching, the ones listening from the shadows of this dinner that is not yours, but feels like it could be. You know the feeling of doubt, the way it grows in your chest until it steals your sleep, the way betrayal whispers louder than love. You are sitting here with me, reading the messages, counting the receipts, tasting the bitterness of tea poured by a friend who is no friend at all. If you want to see how silence turns to fire, if you want to watch how betrayal feeds revenge, then stay close, because we are only halfway through. The best part of any play is not the beginning, it is the moment when masks slip and mine is almost ready to fall. So I wait. I gather. I plan. My husband believes he has fooled me. My best friend believes her laughter still blinds me. They think they are clever. They think they are safe. But what they have forgotten is that patience is the sharpest weapon of all. And I, Isabella Moore, have learned how to use it. The weeks after my discovery were the longest of my life, but also the clearest. I woke each morning beside Ethan, his arm draped over me as though nothing had changed, and I smiled, kissed him, played the role he expected. He thought my silence was ignorance. Chloe still called, still invited me to brunch, still laughed in my ear as though laughter could erase the perfume on Ethan's shirts. My mother-in-law Helen continued her criticisms, my career, my choices, my supposed inadequacy as a wife. All of them believed they were playing me. But I was only biding time, sharpening my patience into a blade. Olivia helped me build the case, every receipt, every message, every hotel booking copied and stored. David, the lawyer, entered then, his calm voice steady as he explained what papers to file, what signatures to protect, what traps to set. By the time I was ready, my husband and my best friend were walking straight into a stage I had prepared. I chose the setting carefully. A dinner, just like the anniversary. A gathering with family, friends, the people who mattered most. I told Ethan it was to celebrate our vow renewal, 5 years of marriage and the promise of forever. He beamed, smug and proud, thinking it was his moment. I invited Chloe, of course. She would not miss a chance to be at his side, even if the seat she wanted was not yet hers. Helen accepted without hesitation, delighted to preside over another performance of perfection. Mark came too, though quieter than ever, his eyes heavy with knowledge. The restaurant glowed that night just as before, candles lit, music soft, wine flowing. But this time, the celebration was mine. Ethan sat at the head of the table, raising his glass, telling the story of how love conquers all, of how 5 years had only strengthened us. Chloe laughed too loudly, her hand brushing his arm as though it were habit. Helen dabbed her eyes, overcome with emotion at her son's perfect marriage. And I smiled, nodded, laughed, but my heart was steel. When the dinner plates were cleared and the waiter brought out the small cake with sugared roses, I stood. "I have a gift," I said, my voice steady, carrying just enough tremor to sound sincere. "For my husband. For my best friend. For all of you." I set the box on the table, neatly wrapped in golden paper, tied with a satin ribbon. Ethan grinned, expecting some romantic gesture. Chloe leaned forward, curious, her eyes gleaming with anticipation. Helen clasped her hands together, eager for the moment to shine. "Open it," I said softly. Ethan tugged at the ribbon, tore the paper, lifted the lid. Inside was a black folder, sleek, ordinary. He frowned, confused. He opened it. And then the world around him shifted. His eyes scanned the first page, then the next, his color draining as the words and numbers cut through his confidence. Chloe leaned over to look, her face paling, her breath catching. Helen frowned, confused, asking what it was. Mark's eyes narrowed, leaning forward, already knowing. "It's everything," I said, my voice calm, clear. "Every message you thought you deleted. Every receipt from the restaurants and hotels you never told me about. Every dollar you stole from our accounts. Every betrayal, written down, copied, preserved. And every lie you told, Chloe, every word you whispered behind my back, recorded for the world to hear." Gasps spread through the table. Ethan dropped the papers, tried to laugh it off, tried to deny. "This is fake," he said, his voice too loud, too desperate. "She's lying. She made this up." Chloe's hands shook as she reached for her wine glass, her eyes darting everywhere but mine. Helen demanded to know what was happening, her voice shrill, the elegance stripped away. And then Mark spoke, his voice low but steady. "It's true," he said. "I've known. I told her to be careful. I told her you were too close." His eyes locked on his sister, Chloe's face crumbling under the weight of her brother's words. The room erupted. Guests whispered, phones lifted, eyes wide as the perfect marriage, the perfect family, cracked open under the candlelight. Ethan tried to shout over it, swore it was lies, but the folder lay open for all to see. Chloe wept, begging me with her eyes, but I did not flinch. Helen turned on me, her voice sharp as she accused me of destroying her son, but her words rang hollow against the mountain of proof. I didn't destroy him, I replied quietly. He destroyed himself. She helped him. Now let me turn to you, the ones who have been watching from the shadows of this story. You've seen the silence, the patience, the gathering of truth. And now you see the moment when masks slip and facades crumble. This is the part everyone waits for, the moment when betrayal burns in the open. If you are still here, if you want to feel that satisfaction again and again, then stay with me. Join our circle. Because stories like these are not rare. They are everywhere. And sometimes, they are closer than you think. Back to the table. Ethan's hands shook, Chloe sobbed, Helen glared, Mark stood tall, Olivia appeared from the back, having helped me deliver the folder, her presence silent but powerful. And David's letter waited in my clutch, the divorce papers already filed, the accounts already secured, the assets already mine. Ethan had thought he was stealing from me. He did not realize I had already closed every door, already sealed every account, already cut every rope he planned to climb. He was ruined. Chloe was disgraced. Helen was silenced. I picked up my glass, lifted it in a quiet toast. To 5 years, I said, and to freedom. Then I set it down, turned, and walked away from the table as the room erupted in whispers and gasps, leaving behind the ruins of people who thought I would never see. And as I stepped into the night, the air cool against my skin, I smiled. Because love may blind, but betrayal teaches you how to see.